So, welcome to Sunday Night Live. And for those that don't know, she's Cheryl.
He's Ken.
And we just got back. We were in Los Cabos in Mexico last week. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that trip because there's been some things that went on that just gave me things I wanted to share. Hi, Pam. Nice to see you tonight, as
Hello,
always.
Hi, Pam.
Um,
Pam says, and I'm Pam.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
You can be Pam. That's not what I want to know about that.
Back to our banners here.
Yep. So first of all, if you haven't told us where you're watching from, tell us where you're watching from. We're always glad to know where our audience is coming from. And then the second thing is, please put questions and comments in the chat. It makes YouTube happy, and both actually on Facebook and on YouTube. It'll help get them to spread the videos out, share it with more people. So we always appreciate that. Cheryl and I are in our home office, and then we'll talk about later about what our schedule looks like coming up. So to start with, we're going to talk a little bit about flights. We had we scheduled flights that were a little too tight. You know, they were connections that Americans shared with us, but they were not great connections. We first of all, we had about a 4:30 flight out or 4:40 flight out of Tampa
in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. So we
started 4:43 boarding, 5:07 departure, and then when we get into where did we go? Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas. They were calling our name as we came up to the gate to get on the plane. So that was really, really, because by the time they can get my scooter to me so I can gate check it at the next plane, it's really pushing it.
Yeah. And we had that same type of connection really both ways. So, you know, that's one thing we learned is if you're checking something and gate checking it, you want to leave yourself a little more time than that. And the reason it was a real problem was we didn't get breakfast before we left. And then we didn't have time to buy food in between. And I thought, well, we'll buy food on the plane. And guess what? No food on the plane.
All day. All they had was pretzels.
Yeah. So we got into Los Cabos about noon or a little after our time. And we had all we had was one bag of pretzels and some biscotti, you know, like 2 biscotti. So it was not a good plan. It just didn't work well. Though I will say that they did a good job of getting the Cheryl's will tour at every gate. We didn't have any problems either direction. I thought that went really well. And in fact, Cheryl wants to show you something. So we'll watch a video here real quick. There won't be any audio, but we'll watch a video. You can see Cheryl's will right there.
Yeah, we board early, and so they have already put all of the suitcases in under the plane. They've put all of the large baggage, like the musical instruments and all that type of stuff, has gone on the plane, and the baby seats and baby strollers that people didn't want to take on the plane. And now they're going to put my scooter on the plane, and this will show it most. I'm looking out the window of the plane, so this is why you can hear the background of everybody boarding the plane, but.
Now they're trying to figure out if they can make it smaller.
Oh yeah, they were trying to see if they could fold the arms down and they'd go away, but they don't go away. So, oh yeah, that must have been. Well, they're still loading some stuff. I thought this was. I don't know. Yeah, they're trying to see if the seat comes off. I guess if the seat comes off, we could do that next time.
Yeah.
That might make it a little better, because what happens is with the seat on there like that, after it's all the way up in there and this video ends, then they had to turn it sideways to get it in the plane, which they took them a minute to figure that out, and I didn't get that on video. But here it goes, just like it's a luggage thing. That's why I like it going in last, so nothing else is going to get thrown up on top of it or behind it. So it is good that they put it in last.
And they did a good job. We didn't have to catch video of them letting it slide down and flip off the luggage cart.
And then a minute later, they turned it on its side. So maybe if we take the chair off, it can just go on up there and have it. But I don't know if I'll only get one piece of it next time. And I'm a little bit, the side panels on it are getting a little loose. And earlier I saw them out there sticking them back on. So it might be because it keeps turning on its side.
Yeah. And Pam, I was a little grumpy with no food. And the one thing we'll talk about it, but it took us longer than I thought it should have to get out to Secrets. Secrets was not a short drive from the airport, and they had like a whole bunch of us, so they had to get a bus in to get us all. Anyway, so we'll talk now about Secrets, because one of the things, actually, we'll talk about transfers to and from the hotel. I had requested beforehand that they schedule for us a transfer that was accessible. And what we got was a fairly big van. It was with a couple of steps to get up into it. And we had to load the scooter in the back and then pile luggage on top of it.
And it was high up. I mean, it was
a tall van, yeah.
Yeah, even for me, I really had to climb into it.
So I didn't think much of that accessible transfer. So when we got to the hotel and I arranged for the transfers back, I, again, specified I wanted a wheelchair accessible vehicle for the transfer. And what we got was a smaller van that we still had to put the seat in the back. And I mean, the scooter in the back, and Cheryl had to climb in. Wasn't as bad a climb. But that is one of the things that we find fairly consistent, is they don't seem to understand when you ask for an accessible transfer. And for us, it wasn't a problem because Cheryl's got enough mobility. But imagine what would be like if you were a person that was a full-time wheelchair user, and they want you to climb up the steps, and you're like, no, I can't do that. And I don't know whether they didn't have any that were there, because we didn't see any. Now in Juarez and Cozumel, they have a lot of wheelchair accessible taxis. But again, this was a company called AMR that does the transfers for Secrets. So that is a problem to start with Secrets, is their transfers are, yeah, not so much. But so that's one of the things just to be really aware of if you're visiting Mexico. We'll talk about a couple of other things. If you're visiting Mexico to go to a resort, the fact that they say that you ask for an accessible transport doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. And so you need to be really specific, because we found out that accessible had a different connotation when it came to room.
Yeah, this might be some of the problems we've been having when we travel internationally. Accessible, generally in Mexico, we found out, or at least with Secrets, accessible means that it's on the first level and you can roll a wheelchair into the room. It does not mean it's ADA accessible. It does not mean, they said if you wanted that, then you had to ask for a wheelchair room. There's a difference between accessible
handicap room
or handicap room. Yeah, handicap room. And they did have 5 handicap rooms. We did not get one, and they were all full. And then I asked him, well, if you reserve a handicap room, no, you cannot reserve a handicap room at Secrets. You can only request one. And then I guess what you need to do is bring a bedpan and a short stool so you can't get to the toilet, because on these rooms, you cannot get your wheelchair into the toilet area, as you'll see on our pictures here.
Yeah, the shower area, this is what we're looking at here, is a shower area, was pretty cool. And it wouldn't have been too bad with a wheelchair, except that can you see? Oh, well, you can just barely see my thing. I'll have to get it even bigger. But overall, you can see the handles over on the left side. So for somebody that is disabled and cannot move, if they get off the wheelchair onto the bench, you're not going to be able to reach the shower controls. Bottom one turns on the one on the wall, top one turns on the one above.
Yeah, so this is, like I said, they just call this accessible because you can get to it. It's not, you don't need any steps. Accessible meant no steps
to
get to the room. But even that shower there does have like a 1.5 inch lip drop into the shower. And because the handles are where you'd really need somebody there with you if you wanted to sit on that little bench, because somebody'd have to move your wheelchair out, and it's not going to move easy on a, I mean, it's just not going to work very well.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then this countertop was probably a little low looking at the basin on top of it. I don't know. Did you try to?
No, I think it was okay.
Just it was
I think
okay.
it was high enough for a wheelchair. And that there was 2 sinks, so this was the smaller sink between the shower and the toilet. There was a small sink.
So talk about this picture, Cheryl.
So this is where the toilet is for a room that we had, and I could not get the wheel CI into that room. And the wheel it's narrow. I mean, it is narrow, but the tub is nice, whirlpool type jacuzzi. Yeah. The big oval. If it was just a regular tub, I probably could have gotten in there, but because it came out several, like about a foot from that wall there, you couldn't get in. I had to walk in every time. So this toilet was lower, but I was able to use a riser, and it was good for me. And I'm tall. I would have liked to have had some handles in there. So
you notice there's no rails, like that's what I've shown you in this picture. No rails anywhere in the toilet.
You see how the tub sticks out, and it looks wide, but it's not when you get up to it. Now, what's interesting is around the resort, almost all the public restrooms did have accessible bathrooms, and the doors were wide enough to go in. Some of them it was crowded or popular, so I kind of avoided those. Some of them there were really large accessible rooms, and so I did get a picture or 2 of those somewhere. I'll probably post them up, and so that was good. But and what's funny is in those accessible rooms, they had bathrooms, they had the railings, but in the accessible rooms, they do not have railings, only in the handicap rooms.
Yeah, and so there you can see us looking back toward the bathtub from in the room. The room was really nice size. Room worked really well, with one exception. For me, the mattress was way too soft. But you could get through there without any problem, get out to the balcony. There was no power on the left side of the bed, good power on the right side. For my CPAP, I had to run an extension cord across, and we typically ran the fan most nights. There was a switch that turned on the brightness of the fan, the brightness of the light. Whoa, brightness of the fan, yes.
And the speed of the fan.
Yeah. Speed of the fan, brightness of the light.
Okay.
Let's see.
And we enjoyed the room. It was a nice room.
Got goodies when we checked.
Lots of goodies every night. They left goodies. I was so good. I ate almost none of them. I was so good.
And this is the door to our room, and it was plenty wide. We had a big welcome sign on it.
It was very heavy door with some kind of spring on it, and I should probably have talked to them about if they could loosen that spring up for someone in a wheelchair. It was all I could do to get in there. And I mean, usually my CI2 will help me push a door, but that one, it was all I could do to get in there.
And that was a view from where we came up to the room, garden view. Okay, so that's all the pictures for today. So, like I said, we talked about the room. And like I said, other than the bathroom situation and with the toilet and the shower, the room was plenty spacious. Everything worked. And again, I don't know why they don't do stuff. I had some suggestions I shared, but I don't know that anybody did anything. The grounds, and it'll be an interesting video.
Oh yeah, the grounds are beautiful, and it's I made a 15-minute video. We'll just have to post it of me zooming around all over the resort. It took us a day to figure. When we got there, everybody said to get to my room, I had to go down an elevator. Well, yeah, it's really, really narrow, and I'm going in the elevator. So Ken would ride my scooter down the elevator, and I would go down the steps with a railing. And we did this for the first 24 hours, and then we found out that if you go past the first set of rooms over by us, way past, then there's an opening, and you can. It's really fully accessible with a wheelchair. I thought it must be because they had carts rolling everywhere. Didn't see any but that maybe 2 elevators. So I was like, this is kind of strange. And so we did finally find it. It's a lot of walking, but when you're in a scooter, you can zip right along. So Ken would go down the steps, and I would go around this whole building, this big long building, and back to meet him whenever we went up or down. And it's a big resort. There's some little hidden spaces. I found a nice little tunnel, well, actually a long tunnel. I mean, this really long tunnel. that went out to the beach. I think it may be for the preferred club members, and it had like a wooden thing right there on the beach where you could sit on this wooden platform in the shade and look out over the water. And next to it, there were chairs on the beach there, which almost no one was there. But none of the areas were ever crowded, though. It's not like you really needed it there. I don't know if it was, it should have been pretty full with all of us there having a convention there, plus other guests.
Yeah.
But
yeah, our group was probably at least 350 people, because there was, I think, 200 plus travel agents registered, plus they had all the vendors, and some of the vendors had more than one person came, and then we had all the staff. So it was a big thing.
The walkways are about 6, 7, 8 feet wide, but they do have the carts that'll give you a ride to your room if you need it. So you have to kind of watch out for them coming along. But they'll let you know they're coming and ask you to pull to the side. I didn't like to be on the sidewalk side of it because the way the stones were laid, it would kind of pull my wheels on my scooter. And so I would kind of stay out in the middle, but I moved pretty quickly. So, but there were flowers everywhere. It was very pretty. And all the rooms where we were, the convention center was very nice, comfortable, huge, accessible, everything. Here's like one of the accessible bathrooms you could see. Behind me on my right is the door. And so it's really, this bathroom was probably about 7 feet long, and you can see how wide it was. This was an example of it, and it did have at least 2 railings. So if you pull your wheelchair up on this side, then that gives you something to lean on each side. And that's about how most of the accessible women's restrooms were. This was a nice bar there, that like the sports bar where they have the games playing on the big screen. Here's one of the swim ups. Oh yeah, I always want to swim up.
That's good. All right, we'll stop with pictures because they're not really very well organized. I was just scanning through some of them real quick. But like I said, I thought that the grounds themselves and the meeting areas, everything was really good and worked really well. I said it was just a shame that they categorize their rooms in a way that's different than most other people. Let's see.
And we didn't call to talk to them, which we probably should have, but we've just been so busy lately.
And so this is one thing I wanted to share for everybody, whether you're watching now or later, is most of the hotel most of the consolidators that do, or tour providers that'll do airfare bundled with a room cannot guarantee an accessible room. And at least in many cases, if you call, they still cannot guarantee an accessible room. So my recommendation is that you talk to the hotel and see. But I'm working on, as we travel, we'll be trying to find ones that can guarantee, an accessible room. Now, I did talk to one of the providers. They're working on trying to make sure that they can get that. I had some other conversations with people, and I said, well, if they can't guarantee an accessible room, why do you still use them? Well, we can sell lots of rooms. And I mean, I understand that, but the other side is if you started telling them, hey, we're going to prefer properties that will guarantee an accessible room for our clients that need it. And what started me on this mission was maybe a month or so ago, one of the other agents in our group messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, I've got a group that's going to I think they were going to Cancun, and he had, it was like 10 or 12 rooms. But he said he talked to the provider and then he talked to the properties, and nobody would guarantee a room. And one of the guys that was traveling with him had no legs. Now, that's just a bad situation, and he said, what should I do? And I said, book a cruise, because, and Sandals is good. Majestic Resorts are good. They'll guarantee a room. And so I wouldn't have any problem booking with them. But I would still book direct with the hotel. I would not book with a tour provider, because the tour providers, seem unconcerned and incapable of making that work. And like I said, I think it's a source of frustration. We did have, like I said, the conference we attended was I'm part of a organization called TPI, Travel Planners International. And so they do all the paperwork side of stuff for us, which is really nice. But the conference I thought was really good. There was a lot of information shared, we learned a lot. Every time we go, we try to get as educated as we can get about things.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be able to talk to all of the tour providers and find out that, first of all, none of them would guarantee it. There were several hotel companies there, and none of them, other than Sandals, would guarantee an accessible room. So, for all inclusives right now, I would say that the scope is pretty limited. We stayed with another property chain and 4 different resorts. And what we found was that what they called accessible was not really accessible. Because we stayed at one in Punta Cana, we didn't get the accessible room we had booked. And now we called them direct. We made the arrangements directly with them. We also put it in through American Airlines Vacations. Got there. We still didn't have an accessible room. And then when we saw the accessible room, we realized it didn't make much difference other than the square footage of the room. Because there were no rails in the shower, no rails by the toilet.
And it was like a 5-foot walk over to the shower after you get into where you could reach all the faucets. So it wasn't like you could just you really had to be able to walk for that one. Yeah,
and like I said, it is it's a situation, particularly in the Caribbean and in Mexico, it's been where it's been worst.
No, there are some small tour providers, not the big ones that send out magazines and emails all the time, but the small tour providers who focus on accessibility would be a better way of getting, perhaps they kind of know the same things we do, like Majestic Resorts is more accessible and things like that than the big main companies. So I was thinking like Wheel the World and some of the others we've interviewed.
Yeah, Wheel the World does really good. There's half a dozen agencies and tour providers that focus on accessibility, and they'll do a good job. They'll make sure that the bed, everything works. Now, in our case, I thought the bed was way too soft. I was kind of like, my feet were up and my head was up, and in the middle of was sagging. And since I sleep on the side, that made my back.
Yeah, he had a back problem. I was
very uncomfortable.
I was fine. And it was interesting there. That hotel is very modern in that it did have some USB ports to plug in. And also, like when you leave the room, it knows when there's no one left in the room, and the air conditioning and stuff goes off to save. Because but we were comfortable that time of year. It was actually very nice. We had beautiful weather there. Yeah,
and Cabo's an interesting town. We didn't have any time to explore because we got in Sunday afternoon, and so we did a little bit of stuff around the resort, ate dinner, and then we were pretty much okay. It's bedtime. I take it back. I did watch the Cowboys game, so that kept me up until maybe 10. But it was in the room. And then the next morning we got up, breakfast was at 7, and we were in conference until about 5:00. And then we had an hour, and then there was an evening function, dinner, and they had some music and stuff. And again, it goes back to the accessibility, and I'll talk to the folks on our end about that, because the first place we had like a place to eat.
It was outside on the grounds.
Yeah.
And the first place it was steps only to get down in there. But there was anyway, they took me over this separate place where they actually load the stuff to work with. So they moved their carts out of the way and got me through a little sandy area. And I was able to get over there with my scooter. The other place that we were on the grass, the other grassy spot was accessible.
Yeah,
so that
it was easy to get to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, other than that, we had it was we had a good time. I just wish we'd had some more time to spend there and to enjoy the resort. But in our case, we're a little busy. We leave what is it? We leave 2 weeks. No, we leave
on the 28th.
A week from Friday coming. So we have 12 days before we're back on the road. And there won't be a show next week. Everybody typically has holiday things they're trying to do. If things go well, and I have good internet, when we will come live to you guys from we will still be in Barcelona, I think. Yeah, we should be in Barcelona. It will come to you live from the ship in Barcelona.
I think we leave on the 1st. I think we leave on the 29th and the 30th. The cruise starts on the 29th. 29th and 30th are 2
No,
nights
the
in
cruise
Barcelona.
starts, we fly out on the 29th, right?
It's
28th.
28th at night, and we get there on the 29th.
Yeah, we spend the night in the hotel.
No, we don't have a hotel. It's the
No, shall we do?
Okay, I don't know. I didn't think so.
So I'm pretty sure we're going to be, or we'll be just sail away. But it,
we'll see if we have it. We'll get internet. We'll have a show.
Yeah, if we have internet, we will definitely have a show. And I guess the one thing I might do is I may have to time shift the show to earlier in the day just to make sure that we're in port, because there I should be able to use my cell phone to get us connected to internet. But we're going to try to, and depending on how things go, we may try to go live every day next week while we're in port, just not next week, but week after next, the first week of January, so that everybody can get a chance to see some of the ports and what life on the ship. I'm going to try to get some interviews set up so that we interview like the cook and.
Yeah, we're hoping. We hope.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to.
It's a nice ship, so we'll see what happens. A lot of it just depends how many of those satellites are up there and where they're facing that day.
Well, and like I said, it also depends on if if my cell phone should have good cell phone service, and then we're going to be the following week. We should be able to go live from Rome, or from the port for Rome, was Civitavecchia. So we will try to do that as well. That one will be pretty late at night for us over there because it's about a 4-hour difference, but that's okay. But like I said, we may not be able to do next the Sunday the 29th on time just because of when they're leaving.
Okay, so I think we've been posting in our Facebook pages a lot about what's going on, and we did start a new little Facebook page also for seniors and those that need accessibility. And we plan on putting up there all the things we've got coming up in case anybody wants to go with us. We're still going to Hawaii on the 29th of January. I don't know if they have any space left for that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll be on the Icon in mid-January showing you that beautiful ship. Oh, that is going to be exciting. And then we kind of have it. We have an open area. We're trying to see if we want to go we're still thinking about going to Greenland and Iceland from Maryland. We have, they keep selling out on that Carnival, and then they keep adding weeks. I guess they're moving the ship. I'm not sure.
No, what they're doing is the following years, because it's, they have 24, 25, and I think they have 26 up already that they're selling that.
Oh, okay.
And that does bring up one thing I want to share with everybody, and this is really important, is that don't wait anymore to book. I mean, there was a period right after the pandemic where you could get great deals, but most of the cruise lines now are starting to do things differently, where what they do is they are raising rates as they get closer, because as the ship starts to fill up, they're bumping the prices up. One Carnival was already, I wanted to say it was 65% booked for, they were already had 65% booked for
2024.
For 2024, and they were getting good bookings into 2025 already. And what that means is everybody knows which cabins go first. So you got to get on the bandwagon with that. I don't know that there's any more space left for the Princess Cruise. I checked the other day; they were waitlisting and guaranteeing some categories.
That was for Alaska in September. With the Denali tour added on.
But we do have, like I said, we do have a plan when the new Aqua, Norwegian Aqua comes out. It's going to run from New York City to Bermuda. So we're going to try, and I think that might be September of 2025 as well. I'll put the dates up. We're also on the first sailing of the Celebrity XL, and we'll see if we can make sure there's some space, and if there is, we'll share the details with you for that. We do have the trip in 2025 in May that we're going on the breakaway from Barcelona to Venice, and that'll go to the pretty much all the ports I'm visiting on this time. So I'm scouting out things to do, and then but it'll go from Civitavecchia. It goes to Malta, and then it goes to Split in Croatia, then Dubrovnik, and then over to Venice. And so it'll be Barcelona to Venice, but you have 3 non-Italian stops in there as well. So that should be fun. And again, we'll keep that list updated, let you guys know where we're going, when, and we're always glad to have people that know us come sail with us. You never know. If you sail with us, you might get a fancy T-shirt.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you got something out of it that'll help you travel better. And we'll see you in hopefully in 2 weeks.
Yep, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Hopefully.